This is the quadratic equation and this is the quadratic formula, also known as the almighty formula. Using this formula is one method for solving the quadratic equation. A is the coefficient of x squared because it is the value standing beside x squared. B is the coefficient of x because it is the value standing beside x. And C is the constant term. So how do we obtain this formula? I'm going to show you using these few steps. Welcome to GER Hub Mathematics and Statistics lessons. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscription button below and endeavor to turn on your notification bell. Also like, share and comment on this video and I'll be seeing you shortly. Step 1, we divide the quadratic equation by the coefficient of x squared and that gives us result number 1. In step 2, we subtract c over a from both sides of result number 1 and doing that gives us result number 2. At this point, we are going to recall the completing the square rule. The number to be added to an incomplete quadratic expression to make it a perfect square must be the square of half the coefficient of the linear variable, in this case x. Step 3, we apply the completing the square rule by adding the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides and simplifying to get result number 3. In step 4, we take the square root of result number 3 and then simplify. This gives us this, which ends up reducing to this when we take the square root of both sides, and this when we subtract b over 2a from both sides of the equation to get minus b over 2a plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and finally our quadratic equation or the almighty formula, this when we take the LCM of 2a and 2a. Now let us solve this quadratic equation using the quadratic formula we have just obtained. So what I'm going to do first of all is to write out my quadratic formula, okay? So I'm going to write x equals minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, of course, in this case, for this particular quadratic equation, my a will be the coefficient of x squared, which is 1 in this case. So I'm going to write 1. My b will be minus 5, the coefficient of x, and my c will be the constant term 6. Now, putting these values into the quadratic formula would give us x equals minus b, which becomes minus times minus 5, plus or minus square root of b squared, which will be minus 5 all squared, minus 4, which is this, times a, which is 1, times c, which is 6, okay, all over 2 times 1, that is 2a. Now, this would give us this. X equals minus times minus 5 will give us 5, plus or minus square root of, we end up having, we are going to have over here, minus 5 squared will give us 25. Then minus 4 times 1 times 6 will give us minus 24, okay? So all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, if we continue solving, this will give us 5 plus or minus square root of 25 minus 24. 25 minus 24 will give us 1 all over 2. Now, x is clearly 5 plus or minus 1 because the square root of 1 is 1 all over 2. And this gives two possible solutions, 5 plus 1 over 2 or x equals 5 minus 1 over 2. Now, the plus or minus there tells you that there are two parts to the solution. When 5 adds to 1 and when 1 is subtracted from 5. So, now 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 divided by 2 will give you 3. So, x is either 3 or x will be equal to 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 will give you 2. So, these will be the possible values of x that satisfy this quadratic equation. So, the quadratic formula can be used to find the roots of this equation, that is the values of x that satisfy this equation. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please kindly like, share, comment on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, and I'll be seeing you in my next video.